it has little or no effect, at least in my opinion, on the outcome of a future public hearing that may or may not take place. So my best advice would be, let's focus on what we're actually taking action on potentially tonight, and not waste your time or ours on a matter that may or may not come forward in the future. Again, you have the right and certainly may express yourself during the public hearing process as we call upon you. However, I just wanted to make it really clear on what's going on. Okay, tonight we have minutes of two meetings, or yes. We have we have a ratification and approval of the minutes of September 16th because of an administrative error, and then we approve the meetings of the regular meeting of September 16th, 2024 with one change. Mr. Nguyen? Or, I'm sorry, Steve.
That's all right, Chairman and Commissioners. I would like to make mention of a correction to the minutes in your agenda packet for last month's meeting. That would be September 16th's meeting. If you look to page 3 of the minutes, for item 2 on the agenda of that meeting, there is a vote on item 2 reflected. And at the end of it, there's a reference to current Commissioner Carrillo. Instead, it should have been Underwood instead of Carrillo. So that's the one correction. With that, you may proceed if you wish to vote to approve the minutes.
All right, thank you. All right then, so before us then is approval of, or the ratification of, and the approval of under one motion I'll take.
So moved.
Okay. A second, please.
I second.
Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 6-0. All right, we have new public hearings, as I mentioned before. So the first public hearing is on a conditional use permit number 24-006. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this matter.
Chairman Vos, before we get started on this item, I'm going to recuse myself. I have familiarity with this project due to some work in my office, and I'm familiar with the project and the property. So,
all right, thank you. So for the record, Commissioner Vice Chair Derryberry is leaving the dais and will not participate in any way with the hearing tonight or any subsequent action for that matter. So we still have a quorum of 5 members, all right. We did receive, Ms. Brakey is going to present tonight, but we did receive an uncontested letter from the applicant. We have received a roughly 44-page packet via email from staff last week for our weekend reading, and we received in that packet one letter from Mr. Hall, a former planning commissioner and vice chair of this commission, actually. Ms. Gonzalez, is it? And McGarty. I'm terrible with names, and I apologize. So, Ms. Brakey, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Vos. Members of the Planning Commission, the item before you is conditional use permit number 24006, a proposal for a new Quick Quack car wash in an approved commercial center. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of Avenue K and 30th Street West in the Commercial Plan Development Zone. The northern portion of the site, primarily outlined in yellow, was approved under SPR 2113 on March 31st, 2023 for the construction of 3 commercial pads intended for drive-through restaurant occupancy. The SPR approval at that time identified the southern portion of the site outlined in green as a future pad. The current proposal for a car wash is subject to the approval of a conditional use permit at this location. The approved site plan for SPR 2113 is shown here, overlaid with the access points to the site. The blue arrows indicate locations where a northern driveway provides access to Avenue K on the right-hand side, and where two eastern driveways provide access for 30th Street West on the bottom of the graphic. The red arrows indicate one-way access from that approved development into the currently proposed car wash site. This then is the site plan showing the proposed car wash. Traffic enters from within the approved commercial center on the west side, filing into 3 stacking lanes on the south. After exiting the car wash, vacuum spaces are available to the north. Traffic then can exit into the approved commercial center on the east side. These are some of the proposed architectural elevations for the site. The north elevation, which would face toward the vacuum stalls and the approved commercial center, is shown on the bottom. The east elevation, which would face toward 30th Street West, is shown on the top right. And then here we have the south elevation facing toward existing multifamily development on the top, and the west elevation on the bottom. I can call out at this time that the applicant has requested the removal of conditions of approval number 25 and 53. Condition number 25 references the required installation of conduit along arterials, and condition 53 references the required installation of purple pipe irrigation for future recycled water connections. These conditions, in summary, do not apply to the current proposal, so the City of Lancaster Traffic Engineering and Capital Engineering departments have reviewed and agreed to the proposed revisions. This is reflected in a memo that was provided to Planning Commission and provided with the printed agendas available to the public. In conclusion, staff recommend that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2420, approving conditional use permit number 24006 to allow for the construction and operation of a quick quack car wash at the southwest corner of Avenue K and 30th Street West with the revised conditions of approval. Myself and members of the applicant team are available for any questions.
All right, thank you. You did mention we received what's known as an uncontested letter on behalf of the applicant indicating they agree to all the conditions of approval, right?
We
As
did,
modified.
that's correct.
Care to comment on the 3 letters that were received for the record?
I can outline responses primarily to the email provided by Randy Hall, just to sort of summarize responses to the comment overall. There's not an EIR or initial study required or prepared for the project. Staff has prepared a notice of exemption to be filed for this item. The notice of exemption will be posted on the city's website in compliance with all publishing requirements. The project as proposed is required to comply with city noise standards, and they are conditioned to complete a noise study and implement all project design features identified in that noise study. Also on the topic of noise, the site has been designed so that vacuum stalls are located as far as possible from residential uses. On the south side, they're buffered by the proposed building. Trash enclosures and trash service are required in compliance with city ordinances, as with all projects. The project would be required to comply with all dumping and wastewater restrictions. As far as water, it's located within the boundary of LA County Waterworks District 40-4, and the project would be required to comply with all water use and runoff requirements, as with all projects. There was comment on light pollution. The city's code doesn't directly address light pollution other than to require that site lighting not produce an adverse impact on neighboring property, which this project would be required to comply with. And there was comment about the sort of zoning history of the site. The property has been zoned CPD, commercial plan development, since 2007. And it being zoned CPD, car washes do require a conditional use permit here.
Thank you. And the 2 letters that we just received today are similar questions. maybe not as specific, but in general. Yeah, the noise issue was, in my mind, was something that needed to be discussed, and you've covered it. The other question I had was probably from our traffic engineer. As it relates to, we see the number 23 on the condition list talks about an SU-40 and a WB-67. So I know what an SU-40 panel delivery truck is, but I'm not sure I know what a WB-67 semi-trailer is. Is that something like Pepsi-Cola delivers with?
Yeah, essentially, it's your basic semi-trailer that you see out on the freeways. That's just the vehicle code number that they give it. So it's the longer 76, 67, 76-foot semi-trailers.
So the applicant then has to demonstrate to the satisfaction of the city that circulation works for those types of vehicles that would typically serve their needs.
Yes, actually, the applicant had returned, where did I put that? They had returned a response to that comment saying that all deliveries would be conducted outside of business hours, and any of the vehicles they have would be 24 feet in length or smaller. So we were just concerned that some of the tight corners and things like that, the compact nature of the site, that some of those other vehicles may not be able to easily travel throughout the site. We just don't want them to be there during business hours to create queuing that could then back up onto the city streets, because sometimes, the car washes get fairly busy. But that was just our concern, and it was, if that were to occur, then they have to rectify the situation through their own efforts and at their cost, but with our approval.
Very good, thank you. That was only two questions of substance I had. Members have anything on this? Any questions or comments? None? All right. So do we have speakers' cards on this item?
Chair Vos, we have 2 speaker cards.
All
both
right.
In opposition.
Then, it's been our practice typically to allow the applicant to begin the public hearing process and speak to us. If they choose, they're not obliged to. And then whomever wishes to address us relative to the project, you have 3 minutes each to talk to us, and then the applicant would have an opportunity to, in theory, rebut or respond. So that's our process. So if the applicant or the representative is here and care to address us now, they're certainly welcome to, and I don't know who they are. Are they here? If you'd like to address us, you're welcome to. You're not obliged to. I'm not sure what you said. The answer is no?
He said he'll defer to the end. He'll defer to the end.
So you'll defer to the rebuttal then? Good. It's hard to get people's comments on the record when they're not at the podium and speaking, so it's recorded. So, and I'm old and don't hear very well, so you have to yell at me. So who's the first speaker then?
First up, we have Sally McGahee, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Sally McGahee.
Welcome, Ms. McGahee, and I mispronounced your name when I saw your letter. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
Welcome. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon. First, it's important to distinguish between a project-level impact and a cumulative impact. A cumulative impact is the condition where 2 or more individual effects, when considered together, are considerable or compound or increase other environmental impacts. The impacts resulting solely from the car wash at the proposed project location will significantly increase vehicle volume, impede traffic flow, increase traffic noise, increased noise pollution from the car wash machinery for nearby residents and students at the elementary school that's adjacent to the property, and the increased light pollution. For these reasons, we ask that the Planning Commission reconsider approval of the CUP for the car wash at this location. There are at least 15 other car washes in the nearby area. There's almost one on every corner these days. And there are plenty of commercial properties nearby that are more appropriately located in a commercial area and not as close to residential properties belonging to the citizens of your city. In addition, there is plenty of suitable open space. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and you know, this is a public meeting, but it's not an entertainment venue, so clapping and cheering and all that has little effect. If anything, it works against your position, frankly. So I appreciate the comments, and it is our practice at the end of the comments from individuals relative to individual projects to ask staff to respond, which is what we'll do in this particular case and every case. We have another speaker?
The next one is from Delphina Clark. Delphina Clark.
Ms. Clark? Good evening, welcome.
Hello, thank you. I'll go ahead and preface this by saying I am a member of Quick Quack, so it's nothing against the organization, and Sally kind of stole my thunder over here, but
You can speak a little closer to the microphone and I can hear you better.
okay, yeah,
Thank
and I'm
you.
a little short too, so it kind of, all right, so like I said, Sally there kind of covered the points I was getting at, but I also live at the complex that's going to be right next to that car wash, and I don't know if we can pull the map up again on where it's going, but as a member of the current Quick Quack, while it would be nice to just go over and wash my car more easily, like she said, for Quick Quack, the one that currently exists is only about 2 miles away. It's not hard to find a car wash at all, so this community is not in need. Again, the noise pollution, it's already loud enough. It's going to be louder. There's a big accident, it seems like every week on that intersection, and I do believe that it'd make it worse. With some of the traffic that was being told coming in or after business hours, right now the business hours are from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. So if it's after that, it's going to be even earlier or later, and people live real close to that. So I would be interested in seeing who's conducting that noise study, because to be frank, if it's Quick Quack, I would be suspicious of those results. Also, the water spray, more trash. As a member of Quick Quack now, I noticed that area is pretty grimy, it's pretty dirty. Like I say, I love the car wash, don't love it right next to my house, and nobody else at that complex that I've talked to about this is enthused either. So if we could get a question on who's conducting that noise study and how it's being conducted, that would be of interest to me. Oh, also the light pollution, that's another thing. We have second-story windows. It'd be real bright for the residents right against there. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have one more, please.
That's it, Chair.
Oh, just two? I thought you said there was three. Beg your pardon, I thought you said there was three. All right, then, if the applicant cares to address us, you're certainly welcome to.
Hi, my name's Don Shively. I represent Quick Quack. I'm here before the Planning Commission to ask for a CUP approval of our application. We have met all of the requirements of the city and worked with staff on planning our design to mitigate as much as we can for that. But in the end, we do provide convenience to the residents of Lancaster. We provide conservation to the residents of the Lancaster residents, and we ask for your approval on this. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
So who picks the sites? Certainly the city does not. The applicants do.
Yes.
Who picks the developers? The city does not. The applicants do.
Yes.
In every case.
Correct.
So how many operations do you have currently in the city limits and
In the
approved?
city limits,
Pardon?
one operating right now, and I have one that's approved that we're working on with our building permit, and I have an application in on 2 others.
All right, thank you. Members, any questions? Thank you for your comments. Ms. Brakey, can you address the exemption under CEQA relative to this project and why it was exempted?
I can. So this project was identified as a Class 32 infill development exemption under CEQA. The provisions that allow it to fall into that category are outlined as being applicable with general plan and zoning designations, which this is, being on a site of no more than 5 acres, having no identified value as habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species, that approval of the project would not result in any significant under CEQA effects relating to traffic, noise, air quality, or water quality, and that it's adequately served by required utilities and public services. These findings were deemed to be met for this project, so it would, much like the shopping center adjacent to it, be classified as a Class 32 exemption.
So when the conditions of approval are approved, assuming that the action is approvable tonight, a question was raised relative to noise study and those kinds of things. Those conditions and those requirements are incumbent upon the developer to satisfy the requirements of the city of Lancaster, its government code, and all levels of administrative oversight, including building and safety, traffic, planning, on and on and on. So if the applicant, we don't ask for a noise study before a project because the project may not go forward. Most cities don't. There may be some that do, but we're not one of them. We ask for conditions, if I'm correct. We ask that the project be conditioned, and if the applicant chooses to accept those conditions and move forward with the project, then they must comply with those conditions prior to getting a permit to actually move forward and building the project. So I can name many, many, many projects in this city that were approved by this commission, including general plan revisions and conditional use permits that are never constructed. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. Anything else you want to add tonight?
That's correct. I can echo your sentiment that at the time of the noise study, which for clarification, I believe the question was asked, that's typically performed by an environmental consultant and reviewed by the city at the time that it's prepared. That document typically outlines things like enhanced equipment enclosures, sound dampeners, things that are captured at the building and safety review phase. Is why, another reason why it's required at that time rather than prior to project.
And there
approval.
is a standard that every development must maintain upon completion, right?
Correct, yeah. There are city noise standards that they would be required to comply with in perpetuity.
I see. All right, thank you. All right, then, anything further from staff? Aye? No? All right, then, thank you. Any further discussion, members? All right, then, be appropriate to close the public hearing and consider a motion on this matter.
I move to adopt resolution number 2420, approving conditional use permit number 24-006 to allow for the construction and operation of Quick Quack Car Wash in an approved commercial center at the southwest corner of Avenue K and 30th Street West, in the commercial plan development zone, and finding the project categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act, of authorizing staff to execute and file a notice of exemption. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded. Anything further? All right, please vote. The motion passes 5-0 with Commissioner Derryberry recusing. So good luck with your project. Take a moment for Mr. Derryberry to rejoin us. All right, we're back at 6 members. Next item is item number 4, which is General Plan Amendment number 23-002, Zone Change number 23-002, and Conditional Use Permit number 23-018. And just for the record, we've received approximately 148-page double-sided staff report and studies and analysis. We received from neighbors and friends 125-page of comments. We also received, some of those comments are actually replications, but I'll point out to you who they were and who they were. And we've also received a petition. We also received, just prior to the meeting tonight, a 15-page letter from Advocates for the Environment. It's what I call a paper dump at the last minute. So, we received letters from Antelope Valley Air Quality Management District, Caltrans, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Ms. Guzman, Ms. Hurd, I believe it is, Ms. Kellogg, Ms. Pullman, Brian and Pamela Phillips, Carla Brown, Carlos Santamaria, Carolyn Perez, Charlene Perez, Chris Grado, Dr. Grado, and Douglas Piestone, I believe, Dylan Pullman, Eric Perez, Jewel Robinson, John Martin, Julie Burns, Kathy Uno, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry if I botch your names. Lori Wade, Miss McFeely, Maria Elena Grado, Marilyn Brown, a neighborhood, identified as Neighborhood Watch, which is a Mr. Johnson, Miss Hartwig, I believe, and Miss Gallegos. We received a letter also from Mr. Trujillo, I believe Mr. and Miss, I'm not sure. A Vincent Miller, I think. Pilar Kuhn and Ron Ott. Randy Mann, Richard Wade, Shin Uno. Steve and Teresa Hatcher, Tina Uno. Tony Pullman, as well as at the close of, after the public comment period, Gun Lester, I believe it is, Janine Abdul-Jabbar, and Naya Johnson, which we received and had the opportunity to read, each and every one of them. The presenter tonight on this project is Ms. Swain, who is our senior planner and environmental expert.
Chairman Vos and members of the Planning Commission, before you this afternoon is General Plan Amendment number 23-002, Zone Change number 23-002, and Conditional Use Permit number 23-018 for the construction and operation of a Maverick gas station. The project site is located in the central portion of the city of Lancaster, surrounded by a mix of commercial, residential, medical, and industrial land uses. The project site is shown with a blue star. The mixed-use project, which will be heard at a later date, is located on the east side of 15th Street West with dashed lines. Directly north of the project site is a townhome development. To the northwest are residential subdivisions, and to the south of Avenue L is a rural residential neighborhood. Other uses in the vicinity of the project site are shown on the map. The project site is located on approximately 2.5 acres at the southwest corner of 15th Street West and Avenue L. A single-family residence is located immediately west of the project site, and a second single-family residence is located immediately south of the project site with a vacant parcel in between. Additional single-family residences are located throughout the area south of Avenue L. The applicant has requested a change to the general plan designation on the project site from non-urban to commercial. And in conjunction with the general plan amendment, the applicant has also requested to change the zoning from RR 2.5, or rural residential with a minimum lot size of 2.5 acres, to commercial plan development. The proposed project consists of the construction and operation of a Maverick fueling station with 20 fueling pumps and a 5,637 square foot convenience market with the off-sale of beer and wine. Landscaping and meandering sidewalks will be provided along Avenue L and 15th Street West, with additional landscaping located throughout the project site. A larger landscape buffer along with a 6-foot concrete block wall would be provided along the western and southern property lines. Access to the site is from a right-in, right-out only driveway on Avenue L and a full access driveway on 15th Street West. A total of 39 parking spaces will be provided on the site, with 2 ADA spaces and 8 spaces wired for EV charging. 2 of these EV charging spaces would also have EV charging equipment installed per building code requirements. The specific location of the EV charging spots has yet to be determined. The location of the potential future hydrogen equipment and fueling pump has been identified on the plans per the direction from City Council. At such time as hydrogen fueling is proposed to be installed, a separate review through planning, building and safety, and the fire department would be required. The proposed convenience market is 5,637 square feet, with the cashier station located at the front of the store near the main entrance. The convenience market would provide a made-to-order deli at the rear of the store with associated storage and coolers, restroom facilities, office space, and an indoor electrical room. A 250-square-foot beer cooler would be located in the rear left corner of the store, shown on the figure with crosshatching. No other display of alcohol would occur. As part of the project, the applicant is requesting a Type 20 ABC license for the off-sale of beer and wine. As part of the review of the project, city staff looked at other alcohol uses in the vicinity of the project site. As seen from the map, 3 other locations were noted. The Blue Star is the Chevron Market at Avenue L and 20th Street West with a Type 20 ABC license similar to the applicant's request. The Purple Star is Costco, which has a Type 21 off-sale general ABC license for the off-sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The Green Star is El Toreo Restaurant, which has a Type 41 on-sale general eating place ABC license to serve beer, wine, and distilled spirits. Additional alcohol uses exist further west and north of the site. The Lancaster Police Department has reviewed and agrees with the conditions of approval. The convenience store building would be shades of gray with bronze, black, and red accents. The base of the building and accent columns would be cultured stone in a gray-brown color. The building would have bronze trim along the roofline and bronze-colored awnings over doors, windows, and its architectural features along the north elevation. The entrance to the building would be located along the western elevation and would feature 2 sets of sliding doors with large window areas to allow for clear visibility into the store. A second entry single pull door would be located on the southern elevation. Over the front entrance would be a focal entry feature consisting of bronze-colored posts with black metal roofing and an entry sign. The roof would be accented with red trim. The fueling canopy consists of bronze-colored posts with a red and white canopy. The initial study was circulated for a 30-day public review from August 14th to September 13th, 2024. At the request of a commenter for the project on the east side of 15th, the comment period was extended to September 20th, 2024. During the public comment period, a total of 33 comment letters were received, 3 from public agencies and 30 from individuals. Subsequent to the close of the comment period, 3 additional comment letters were received from members of the public. These letters were included in the Planning Commission packet. 1 additional letter was received this morning from Advocates for the Environment, a copy of which has been provided to you on the dais. Modifications were made to the final initial study, specifically to mitigation measures to provide additional clarity. Issues raised in the comment letters address a wide range of issues, including traffic, noise, water, public safety, and quality of life. The conditions of approval address these concerns, and no additional modifications are recommended. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 24-21. Both myself and the applicant are available to answer any questions the commission may have.
Yep, I expect there'll be some. The applicant has an opportunity to address us if they choose now, or they are not obliged to, and they certainly have an opportunity to address us at the end of the public hearing process and rebut if they choose. So, is the applicant here and wish to talk to us? And tell us who you are, sir.
Hello, my name's Richard Piggott.
Hang on a second. The mic's not on. On now?
Still see a green light, no green light, but can you hear me now? Are we good? Hello, my name is Richard Piggott. I'm with Maverick Incorporated. We're located at 185 South State Street in Salt Lake City, Utah. Just wanted to briefly just introduce myself. And first of all, thank you guys for taking your time to volunteer your time to represent the city of Lancaster. And also want to thank all the residents that came out today. We had a neighborhood meeting a little over a year ago, and we did have a cordial nice Zoom call, and I really appreciate the residents' involvement in this project. As long as we hear their voice, it's much appreciated by Maverick because we want to hear their concerns as well as the questions and comments that you have as commissioners as well. Just to give you a little history of Maverick, we're a convenience store that used to operate in 13 states, about 400 stores. We are new to California. We have about 4 active stores and probably 20, 24 other stores somewhere in the process of due diligence or getting towards construction. We operate in the 13 western states. Last year, we acquired another convenience store, which expanded us to 20 states and doubled our stores from 400 to 800. If you saw some of our elevations, our motto is Adventures First Stop. We kind of follow that adventure theme. Inside our stores are murals of local national parks or natural features that we portray on murals above our coolers and things of that nature. We keep an open, visible glass storefront, as you can see. A part of that is because of security. We want to be able to be a safe place for people. One of the things that's nice about us operating 24 hours is there's always somebody present at the store, able to be a piece of the community that people know that they can find refuge if they need to. We follow all the industry standards of safety with our fueling stations. I could go on a little bit more, but we have a full house, and I'd like to hear from everybody as much as we can. So if you have any questions for me, I'm here, but I could just speak afterwards when you're ready, when I'm
We'll
available.
either ask them now or later.
I think we want to hear from the residences first.
Could you pull up the site plan, please? So I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer a couple questions. The elevations, please, it would be the east elevation. Up. The building plan east elevation.
Okay.
The-
There you go.
These are the east and the south elevations.
Okay. So, you have a housekeeping pad.
Correct.
It appears to have some sort of enclosure. What is that enclosure?
In this particular case, it's a solid fence.
Speak to the microphone, please.
In this particular case, it's a solid masonry fence. I think it is the case with the ephes or the hardy board that's placed over the top of it to give it that blended look into the rest of the elevation side.
So what do you do with the housekeeping pad?
The housekeeping pad is more or less where we keep our utility connections, things like a gas meter, ladders towards the upper part if it's necessary for us to access the roof. It's not a place where we store product or things of that nature. It's just more of a place where we're able to.
Did I hear you say access to the roof?
Sometimes that's where we get put our elevator.
You know, in the city of Lancaster, we don't allow exterior ladders. They all have to be enclosed.
Correct.
Just like switchgear. We don't allow switchgear on the outside of buildings.
And I wasn't fully prepared for that question, Mr. Voss, but in looking at the elevations, I don't see an exterior ladder, so I can see that that's not going to be the case in this location.
Well, if this project gets approved, then you're going to have to conform to the requirements of the city, and the ones I just pointed out to you are very significant to me.
Okay.
And when developers, for instance, kind of overlook doing them, then they end up coming back into their project and having to retrofit after they open. That can be very costly and time-consuming. So I'm a pain in the elbow.
I will take it, Mr. Voss.
So the exterior structure is what, hardy board and?
Hardy board, cultured stone, as Jocelyn said.
So that's a manufactured product as
It's a
opposed to a natural product?
Correct. It's a cementous fiber product that simulates wood, but it's not. It's that cement fiber board.
Okay. How's the or the ledger stone attached? Is it screwed on or is it set with mortar?
It's set with mortar, is my understanding. I'm a civil engineer by trade. I wish I was more of an architecture side, but my understanding is it's mortared on.
Okay. That's all I have for now, so
Okay.
you'll have an opportunity to talk to us after some of the folks chat with us this evening, all right?
I can do that.
Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
Chairman.
comments.
Chairman Bose,
Go ahead.
both of your concerns regarding outdoor electrical gears and roof access ladders are conditions of approval, that they are interior to the building.
Just wanted to make it clear, we've done that before, and sometimes folks just do a sneaky Pete. You know what that is?
I've heard the expression.
All right, thank you. We do have comment
We do,
cards?
Chair Vos, we have 14 speaker cards.
14? Okay, very good. We're ready to hear them, and you folks would have 3 minutes each, please, so we can move this along.
First one up is Bassem Musa.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Good evening.
And use your outside voice so I can hear you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Can you, everybody? Good evening, sir. I'm here in favor for the project. I live only 2 homes down the street from the gas station. I like to support the project because the benefit will impact the community and the jobs, and it's going to be very convenient for people in the morning to grab their coffee or snacks or donut before they go to work, before they get on the freeway. So I think it's very good for our community to add value to the community, and I am in support for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
The second speaker is Lorraine Ann Hardy.
Take your time. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Well, I, along with probably a lot of people here, oppose the project, not just because, I mean, we're all in favor of people having convenience, but we live right there on a private road, and 15th Street West is a private road. Even now, without the project, we have cars and vehicles that go much faster than they should. And with, you know, and there's animals there too in our area. And there's people who take their children out. And I think it would increase not just the traffic and unsafe conditions for people. We're also looking at like water usage. And, you know, we don't want our taxes to go up. We don't want our water usage to go up. We don't want to have to pay for someone else's water. There's a ton of stuff, and I thought it was going to be more than just the gas station because I had a whole slew of things I wanted to say. But for right now, it's our own safety, it's the traffic on the roads, even the noise, the cars, and it's going to generate more people. We have had enough problems with transients going down 15th and L12 and L8 and L4, and with more people going to the gas station, which I'm not opposed to that, but those people sometimes aren't the greatest. And they like to invade our neighborhoods and break into our homes and steal things. And so that part of it, we are adamantly opposed to. And that's all.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
The next one is Cherie Lee Guimet.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. My family purchased the property in White Fence Farms almost 60 years ago. We are now 4th generation, and we have raised animals on the property during that time, FFA, 4-H members. The other thing that I am concerned about is we are right off of Avenue M. Anybody traveling from further south with their GPS will be sent down our road and go all the way down the road, which will increase traffic. It is a private road. It is a dirt road. Every car that goes by stirs up more dirt. The faster they go, the more dirt we get. And we do have animals in the neighborhood. We have children in the neighborhood. At this point, we're up to great-grandchildren. What else I want to say? I wish my dad could have come tonight. A few years ago, he would have, but Dad is 99 now. And I guarantee Dad would be opposing this. And I'm really concerned about the increased dust and dirt, valley fever, that will be coming up. So definitely oppose it.
All right, thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Audie Gruber, Grubin.
No hurry. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. The name is Grubel, Grubl.
Thank you.
When Lancaster Incorporated, they adopted the recently revised general plan from the county, LA County. And that plan had changed our designation from rural residential to an urban designation. I, along with other members of White Fence Farms, got together and applied to change the general plan back to our rural residential, which we did accomplish. And we worked with the city on other items like specifications, setbacks, things like that. So we go back a long ways, White Fence Farms. And we've worked with the city, and ensuing city councils and planning commissions have agreed that we remain as a rural residential area. So when working with the city on the general plan, we found that one of the critical requirements was need. Is there a need? And I see no need for another gas station, not especially where that one is, only a quarter of a mile from one at 20th and L, and another quarter from 10th and L. No need, I don't feel. We bought, all of us, our properties in White Fence Farms because we liked the rural lifestyle. And that's, I feel that there's no need to change the zoning designation to put something into the rural lifestyle area that is established there just because. I mean, there's no need. There's no need. That's my main point. No need. We are there, all of us, because of the lifestyle. And there will be not that lifestyle if this goes in.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. May we have a... Folks, this is a public meeting, in public, but it's the commission's meeting. So please respect our friends and neighbors here today.
The next speaker is Sharon Lee Hartwig.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to be here, I think. We too have lived on West Avenue L4 for 58 years. Back in 1964, Al Hartwig, my husband George's uncle, who started Hartwig Realty in Lancaster in the 50s, told us that Avenue L4 between 15th and 20th West was the best 2.5 acres of desert to buy, build our home, and raise our family. It was zoned rural agriculture, and we could have as many animals as we wanted, and we had them all. There were no streetlights, no natural gas lines. There was electricity and telephone lines. We did follow his advice. We moved 5 miles out into the country. Lancaster Boulevard was the heart of town then. That's where the grocery store, the post office, the hotel, a very small hospital was located. Today, we have streetlights and natural gas and a lot more homeowners who have moved to our 4-square-mile rural neighborhood. We have become very well acquainted with one another through the city's Neighborhood Watch program. We know each other. We want our 2-lane private roads. We want our quiet streets. We want our private water company. We like working with horses and chickens and having more than one dog. We like planting gardens. We like picking up tumbleweeds and keeping the weeds down. We respectfully ask, why do we need a 24-hour gas station with as many fueling stations as Costco, a 5,000 square foot convenience store that will sell alcohol 24 hours a day on a lot size where one home should be built? This will not only affect us, but the Park Somerset apartments across the street to the north on Avenue L, the Somerset Homes, Kaiser Permanente, the traffic tying up that little intersection at 15th and L, the 24-hour lights, the 24-hour noise, the pollution of these developments is unbearable to think about. Our infrastructure cannot handle what is being proposed here. Our roads, our water, our children, our animals, we feel, are at risk. We love our city. We thank you, our Planning Commission, for carefully developing our city into a place where we enjoy living. We realize Lancaster needs to continue to progress, but would you please consider finding another location for this developer?
Thank you for your comments. Do we have another speaker?
We do. Douglas A. Pistoni.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you so much. I moved into this neighborhood about 3 years and 2 months ago. I used to live in Rancho Vista on the golf course. I got 6 chickens, and guess what? My neighbors got mad, and I had to move, and I moved into White Fence Farms. The reason I moved there is because it was rural residential. In other words, non-urban residential, rural residential RR 2.5. I now have over 250 chickens. I have an egg business there. My across the street neighbor has 12 horses, championship horses that go up and down the street all the time. So I am massively opposed to this. On our street alone, we have livestock, we have crops, we have horses, we have bulls, cows, pigs, goats, sheep, and deer. No, I'm joking about the deer. Anyway, I moved away from the city, and guess what? I got dirt roads, I got no sidewalks, I got no street lights, and I loved it. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be away from the city, away from the lights, away from tons and tons of people, and that's why I moved there. The fact that this is going to be changed now from rural residential to commercial was never stipulated to me. If I would have known that this project would have been going on 3 years ago, I would have never purchased. I would have gone to Antelope Acres, someplace where I know that something like this wouldn't happen. But my biggest concern is the water. We have White Fence Farms Water Mutual District, and we have a private well. Right now, currently, White Fence Farms has to buy water from AVAC in the summer because we don't have enough water in our community. And that is my biggest concern, is the water. The water is huge. If we turn on our sinks and nothing comes out, our value will be zero on our homes. And then also the future project that's going to go on in the southeast corner, which is going to be 181 apartments, 235 room hotel, 4 businesses, is going to just kill our private wells. And those 2 wells were done for rural residential. So 2.5 acres will either have 1, 2, 4, or 5, at the most 6 people on it. It's not going to be something where we're going to, in that corner, we're going to house over 800 people. And normally we wouldn't have more than 20 in that area. So this is a major concern for me, I also have another concern in that list that was given on paragraph 15, page 49 of the DRC comments, draft, and conditions on the drawing, number A1-0, West Lane Partners LLC, corner of Avenue L and 15th Street West, which specifies the order to secure a conditional.
Thank you for your comments.
All righty.
As a reminder, folks, we will address everyone's comments, principal comments, at the end of your input tonight. Ms.
The next
Newman?
speaker is Barbara Kellogg.
Hello and
Hello.
welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm really disappointed to be here today, though. This should have never been even considered, as on page 24 of the general plan, it states, land surveys conducted of the general plan update indicate that there is enough vacant urban residential density land within the urbanizing area to accommodate the projected 2030 population growth without the need to convert additional rural residential land for urban use. Our area is not in that urbanizing area according to the map. We are not considered the infill land. It also states it will be important to ensure that the remaining vacant uncommitted land within the urban area is developed to its highest and best use. It is anticipated that much of the infill land will be developed with higher density mixed-use development. White Fence Farms is not that area. There are plenty of spaces within the urbanizing area where this project could be completed and not have the drastic negative effects that it will have on our area. Studies done by the Community and Environmental Defense Services have shown that where alcohol is sold, it has a detrimental effect on the surrounding area. It brings forth crime, violence, traffic, loitering, and homicides. It has also been proven that there is a significant increase in children being offered alcohol and tobacco, as well as being exposed to drugs, especially from outlets that are open 24/7. Code 17.42.040 states that alcohol should not be sold within 300 feet of residential use. This should not be allowed as children are living in close proximity of this projected project. We also have 8 other gas stations that are within a mile radius. The point of another one is beyond me. Introducing commercial zoning will negatively impact our property values. Several business owners in our area have contributed to and sustained the growth of this Antelope Valley that live in our area and are still continuing to do so. We have invested our life savings into our homes, and it will have an adverse effect on us. Our values will decrease, and our property taxes and water rates will increase. The traffic, the noise, the pollution, the crime, the loitering, and the homelessness will be never ending. Build the commercial buildings and gas stations in areas that are assigned commercial. They do not belong in residential areas. The Code of Ordinances 17.08.400.040 states that the planning director shall determine whether the proposed use would complement and be able to exist in harmony in the same zone. There isn't one thing in this zone that is in harmony or would complement our area. This has been home for me for 63 years, 4 generations. Plans for retirement for that home. I hope that you will keep your integrity and your morals and honestly do what's right for the citizens of this valley and not for the developers who have no interest in our livelihood. Please reserve our preserve our rural area as you have stated you would be done so in the general plan. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next up is Trista Bellers.
Good evening, ma'am, and welcome.
Good afternoon. We are a humble rural area that has been established for nearly 60 decades. I am here to address the increase of traffic. A prime example is the ill preparation from the city of the development of the gas station on L and 20th. There are constant near accidents and deaths there. I only feel that the increase of traffic for a gas station on 15th will not only develop dangerous situations for 15th, but even increase further the traffic dangers on L and 20th. Excuse me.
Take your time.
Take my time, but 2 minutes.
It's hard sometimes to stand
Another
there
gas
and talk.
station would another gas station would further increase the traffic on 20th and develop additional issues. There will also be an increase in crime. My family stopped at the gas station on Ellen 20th for a soda one evening, only to find it locked, and the employee had closed the doors due to an unsafe condition from a loiterer on that evening who was acting in a threatening manner. A gas station would also increase pollution. The increase in traffic, gas, light, and air will be harmful to our livestock and our residents significantly. The only adventures to be had at this location, unfortunately, will be more of a criminal nature. We are, again, a humble rural area and would like to remain a humble rural area. My husband and I bought this house 2 years ago. We are new to the well-established residents who have been there for many generations, and we had planned to have our family be there for many generations and increase our livestock and our lifestyle with a calm, quiet area. A gas station a quarter of a mile away from another gas station will only cause detrimental harm to our family and our neighborhood and our livestock. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Next up is Shannon Santa Maria.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, thank you. I realize that the photos look like a lot of open land there, but as you've heard already, these are our backyards. This is where our kids play and our animals are raised. I'm going to include my questions in my comments because I don't know how to really do that otherwise. You mentioned that this is going to be a right entry and right exit only, which is going to ultimately mean most likely illegal U-turns on Avenue L. And if you're familiar with the speed on Avenue L, that's not going to be safe for anybody. L and 20th is already one of the most dangerous intersections for high-speed accidents and fatalities. And L and 15th has also had its share of fatalities. Please consider the safety of our community when you consider this decision. Another question I have is 15th Street is a privately owned street by the homeowners. We all own the street to the center in front of our properties. Some of us on L4 pitched in years ago to have it asphalted and paved. We maintain it. We pay for it out of our own pocket. My question would be, what is going to happen when part of 15th is paved and part is not? If you drive up 15th towards L4, you'll see there's a lot of trenches that the rain has done, which I just imagine, I don't know what the runoff is going to be like. I don't know what the water situation is going to be like. That needs to be heavily investigated. Avenue M already has a problem with transients, as you've heard. Making another location where they just have to cruise down 15th to another location to buy more alcohol is going to create more problems in our neighborhood. Ever since the gas station on L and 20th was built, we have already had an increase in crime on L4. If you look at police records, we have had at least 4 that I can recall in the last year of having people that have robbed the gas station from L and 20th and tried to hide in our yards. Our yards. Please consider the uniqueness of our neighborhood, like you've heard already. I'm third generation in our home. My kids were the 4th generation. My granddaughter is now the 5th generation to live in this community. You don't hear that. You've heard this a lot tonight about generations and generations in these homes. You don't hear that in a lot of neighborhoods. This is really, really a unique space. I talked about the roads. That dirt road, you know who maintains it? The homeowners do. We take our tractors that we have purchased, and when it rains and there's trenches and things, we dig them out. We smooth it out. We grate the roads ourselves. Having another gas station on another corner so close to the others is going to increase traffic on the roads that we have to pay to maintain. Regarding this, okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Ashley Hurd is next.
Good evening and welcome.
Hello, my name is Ashley Hurd. I live in Park Somerset. I'm opposed to the gas station being built. It's not that it's right in our backyard. No, for the Park Somerset residents, it's our front yard. So you walk out your front door, you're gonna see a gas station. I don't think anybody wants that. I've driven around this valley and I haven't seen one gas station where it's right across the street from someone's front yard. The other thing too is the traffic on 15th Street going towards Kaiser. It's already congested. So in the morning, there's no light there for us to make a left turn. If traffic is increased, it's going to be even more difficult for the residents there. A lot of the people that have already spoken have talked about how there are multiple gas stations within a mile radius. And so I really don't understand why this is even being considered. This is not a commercial area. And when we purchased our homes, because Park Somerset is a condominium, I do own my home. I purchased it in 2020. I sunk all my money into it. I love where I live. But it's not commercial for a reason, because people live there, and I hope that you take into consideration all of the people here today and all of the residents that already live there. I hope that you take into consideration that this is not a mixed area. This is not commercial and residential. No, this is just residential. The commercial areas are over on 20th and over on 10th. We're on 15th Street West. So please take into consideration, think if you would want a gas station in your front yard, because again, this is not our backyard. This is not on the side of us. There's not a wall between us and the gas station. No, we're gonna walk out our front doors and there's gonna be a gas station right there. I'm gonna look out my window and there's gonna be a gas station right there. And for it to be 24 hours, that's gonna increase traffic. So please take these things into consideration. And also the fact that there are so many gas stations around there. This isn't for the community that already lives there. I don't know who this gas station is for, because we've already got a ton of them around us. And all the people in the neighborhood, all the people that live there, they're opposed to it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments.
The next speaker is Shin Ueno.
Good evening, sir.
Hello there. This is the sheet that I passed out earlier today. Please refer to that sheet. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, it wasn't identified, so we have no idea where it came from.
Oh, well, it's me now. Thank you. Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, good afternoon. My name is Shin Ueno. My wife and I are longtime residents here. We are against this development. We are seriously concerned about the high traffic increase at the corner of L and 15th. The national transaction average for a gas station with a convenience store is 1,100 per day. The proposed raised median in front of Maverick along Avenue L will encourage customers to make a left-hand turn at the intersection of L and 15th and enter the gas station from 15th Street West. Kindly consider combining both Maverick and the West Lake partner projects together when conducting your traffic study, as the 15th Street West will be their main access. Westec Partner, the 10-acre project, is projecting 2,000 vehicles per day. Combined is 3,100 trips per day. This is a huge increase at this intersection. Another topic is the dirt road condition. Only half the distance to L4 is paved along L15. The paved road is commercial and the dirt road is private, and the residents are responsible to maintain the road. Changing the zoning to commercial will allow a flood of vehicles onto a rural dirt road. This is taking private property for public use without just compensation. And there should be a private road maintenance agreement with Maverick. My wife and I are retired. We cannot take on the responsibility to maintain the dirt road with this increased traffic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Another speaker?
Of course. The next speaker is Bonnie Pulliam.
Evening and welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm not a speaker. Sorry.
I'm not either.
Yeah. Unless you want to talk about motorcycle parts, I can help you, but otherwise, I'm pretty bad at this. So my name's Bonnie.
But Bonnie, you can move the microphone up.
Oh, I
and then you don't have to bend over.
Okay.
And we'll restart the clock.
Oh, sorry.
All right?
Thank you.
All right.
I was born 1964 over here at the Antelope Valley Hospital, and stayed here with my husband, been in business 40 years. We picked this property. It's catty corner to the projected site here, and we picked it for our retirement to stay for the rest of our lives here. Because it was rural. We wanted to be, we're not city folks, we're country folks, but we don't want to be complete country folks. We want to be close to sort of city. That's why we picked that, because it was right next to it. Costco didn't bother us. It did have light pollution, but it wasn't so bad. With this encroaches right in front of our property that we win. And I agree with Barbara and so many others that we don't need it. If we needed it, I might step back as a business owner and say, this is business. This is how business goes. But since it's not needed, I don't feel like that's part of the consideration. The other thing is our families are right there. My boy, he'll be living with us for the rest of his life. We ride our bikes around that area. The imposed traffic would actually hurt us in the fact that we do have to be careful with him because he's special needs. So we went in that area because we could keep him quarantined because of his special circumstances, but also be right there where we needed to be. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter if it looks like Disneyland. It still sells alcohol. It still brings traffic. It still brings noise. It still brings lights. It doesn't matter how beautiful it looks. It looks really nice. And that's a place I would stop to get gas. But it doesn't change the fact that we have places for them to put these nice places that are not in our rural areas. I'm sure there's a lot of points that I could state that they've already stated, so I don't need to keep going over the same things. I have watched many things in our areas, such as the hawks, the owls, the wildlife that's right there on Avenue L. If you pass across from Avenue L, you come into our area, you kind of come into a wildlife area. And I think that will be pushing that back more and more. And I think we need to keep that line until it's absolutely necessary. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next up is Philip Trujillo.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Sorry. Good afternoon. I have lived in the AV for over 40 years and lived on 15th Street West for almost 8 years now. I am not sure how familiar you are with the area and why a gas station, hotel, mini mall, multi-story apartment buildings, and 800 parking spots don't fit in our area. Maverick Gas promotes itself as an adventure stop. They have stations along the way to Coachella Valley, the Grand Canyon, and Las Vegas. I get some corporate scout from Utah seeing on Google Maps, California City, and mistake it for something grand and seeing the AV as just an adventure rest stop that LA makes on their way. I would hope that our city planners do not see us as a place that only functions as a truck stop to pick up beef jerky, a few cold beers, and much needed bathroom break on the way to something more exciting. I can also see why a $1 billion acquisition and management firm in Westwood would think another 235-room hotel would be a great idea here. Our pumpkin patch is the most happening thing in the city right now. And when they first started filing the paperwork, it would have been the perfect spot for the Poppy Festival, which brings in people from all over the state. How could some corporate bigwig in LA and Utah understand how 181 family apartments, 235 hotel rooms, 3 swimming pools, retail, restaurants, a clubhouse, and an adventure truck stop, gas station with 24-hour liquor mart would put a strain on a well-pumped from desert ground table such as White Fence Farm? How can they understand that 800 parking spaces is easily 100 more than Costco Mini Mall right next to us? How can they see the strain that this kind of left turn traffic feeding from the freeway will put on our low corner light turn to our dirt road? There are vacant commercial lots all along 10th and 17th Street that are for sale. There are $1 billion acquisition from Just See Land, where we see limited low-density residential lots stolen from middle-class families and turned into just another address for their portfolio. They claim that they will revitalize our community and provide jobs. Will the fast food and hotel housekeeping jobs even pay enough for someone to live in the apartments they are building? The fairly new gas station and drive-through restaurant on L and 10th haven't revitalized the mostly empty mini mall across the street. It just brought more shootings and crime. And one murder just happened earlier this month down the street. Several of our homes have been broken into, and one neighbor who shot a thief after repeated break-ins was promptly arrested and charged. In the 40 years I have lived in the AV, I have called the AV my home. I have never seen such an explosion of hotels being built in the AV and feel like we are trying to rival Disneyland. The news often talks about LA being using hotels for short-term housing to solve the homeless problem. I have seen many news bites about how the mayor is tired of our town being a dumping ground for LA. The mayor was adamant that multi-story housing overlooking the sheriff's station was unsafe. How am I and my family to feel safe with one overlooking my neighborhood? I know it included other things, but I was planning for just 3 minutes and
all right, thank you, sir, for your comments.
Talk about what changes decades.
The next speaker is Sally Backen.
I have no
Afternoon
notes.
and welcome.
Thank you. I have lived in White Fence. Actually, I was born in the Sims house there in White Fence Farms. So I have lived there forever. I've watched all the changes. I've listened to all the promises that have been made, how it's going to bring commerce to the area. I've watched how the criminals have come in now that they've got the opening, the gas station on 20th and L, and the fatalities that have increased, and the shooting earlier this month that he was talking about that was not only 300 feet from my front door, a shooting in a rural area. The criminal element is just more than I can handle. The traffic is unbelievable. The light pollution, I can hear. I live 4 houses away from the corner, and I can hear in the middle of the night that car wash going. I live 3 houses away. The air pollution, the noise pollution, the light pollution, the criminals, the homeless that have come into our area to hit the market at the corner on 20th and L is unbelievable. I catch them sleeping in my barns at night. This is a rural area. We never had these problems before. And with a project like this going in, plus the other stuff that's going on, it's only going to increase it more. I'm with everybody else. I really oppose this. This is just a shame. It is a travesty on this valley to be doing this to us.
Thank you for your comments, and nobody's doing it to you. We haven't made a decision relative to your comments or anyone else's.
We have two more. The next one is Maria Elena Grotto.
Long time no see, Maria Elena. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Vos and Planning Commission, thank you for hearing us. We all know each other very well, and obviously you've heard all my neighbors and how it's generational. I know you got my letter, and know I oppose, and my family and my neighbors oppose the massive 24/7 operational development. Since most people have spoke about all the issues, I really don't have to say much here. But one thing is, many of these people have told me the City of Lancaster and the Planning Commission does not care about the disruption of our neighborhood. But I personally know most of you, and I do believe that you do care. If this passes, it not only is a complete disruption of our neighborhood, but a complete disregard to many of the longtime friends and colleagues, ours and yours. They are generational business owners, community financial contributors, Antelope Valley workforce, and retirees who have dedicated themselves and continue to do so to the Lancaster's financial livelihood. They have been and continue to be top financial producers and financial donors of this community. We understand generating tax revenue for our city, but disruption of our neighborhood is not acceptable when there are multiple currently appropriated zone freeway accessible areas available in the current Lancaster general plan. We have a traffic study that happened when there was an accident on Avenue M, and what happened was that traffic found their way down Avenue L12, and it was outrageous down the dirt road. I know we have it on film, what happened. We couldn't bring it to the meeting today and show what the situation is, but we know the traffic's gonna be outrageous. Those are dirt roads. People were passing each other. They didn't care about the residents. They didn't care about the dirt road. But my friend here, he's not here anymore, has it all on film, at least a half an hour, because the road was closed due to an accident on Avenue M. We know the infrastructure of White Fence Farms Water Agency cannot hold up to the usage of the water there. We understand that AVAC water will be used there, but the tanks and the wells will not be able to hold up with this usage there. I personally lived in the high-dwelling business district of Lancaster. I was so happy to get out of that area and get back to my neighborhood. As you know, it's generational. I was so relieved to be away from the light and noise pollution, the sirens and the helicopters, the homeless urinating, defecating, and drug use in my bathrooms, in my business, even with locked doors. I continue to daily combat these issues at my Lancaster location, Avenue K and 12th Street. That's my new business location for the Lemon Leaf. So I know that these things will happen in our neighborhood. Please consider this. Thank you, Mr. Vos. Thank you, Planning Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Grado.
The last speaker is Chris Grotto.
Dr. Grado, welcome.
Thank you so much. I guess I'm bringing it home, huh? I actually brought my letter to read to you, but I know that you guys take this very seriously, and I do believe that you read my letter. As the neighbors have all said, this is a generational area. My parents bought their land in 1976, built the house. I moved in when I was 4 years old. Years later, bought my own property on L4 and 15th Street West. As you know, that was years ago, because this is not, it's quite gray at this point. But Ms. Grubel and my parents did the original, coming to the city and having this fight years ago with similar gas stations and proposed developments on that corner. The rural residential area, this is really the last of what Lancaster is. I mean, it's an amazing area, and these 2.5 acre lots where people are living, there's a safety there, there's a sense of community. There is an agricultural area still there. People have equestrian property. They have chickens, as you've heard. The light and noise pollution will be a real thing. And I know that the gentleman spoke about Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City, doesn't sell alcohol past 10 o'clock at night. So if you're going to say a 24-hour selling alcohol establishment is going to bring safety to the community because somebody's there 24 hours a day, I would have to disagree with that, and I'd like to hear his rebuttal on that, because actually it's going to bring in more crime, more light pollution, more things in our backyards that it isn't designed for a rural residential area. We are all about progress in this city. I mean, I love Lancaster, obviously born and raised here, will continue to live here. But this is just not the right area for this. We do believe that the residential rural area and parts like that throughout Lancaster and even in Palmdale are still what make this community what it is. And so there are so many other places where an establishment such as this could be put in. We have many places throughout the community that are actually right now currently are vacated. There's other places as well. So I understand, again, progress. And we do the things that have already been said, the 15th Street West and L4 are both going to become major thoroughfares. The water issues, the strain on the White Fence Farms water company are going to be great. And we just really do, as I said, I know you take this seriously. Please do consider this in your vote, that maybe this isn't the right time, that we have a lot of support here, a lot of people who are very serious about this, who have generations live in this area, and this will start to erode this area to the point of not wanting to live in that area of Lancaster. So please do consider this as you vote, and we appreciate your time and the work you do every day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does that conclude the speaker cards?
That concludes it, Chair.
All right, thank you. Before we ask the applicant to come back up and answer a few questions and address the public's comments if they choose, I just want to point out the facts. The facts are, when developers bring projects forward, the city doesn't select them. The developers select the city. The city doesn't select the sites. The developers make those proposals. Some of them, quite frankly, are controversial, like this one. However, please don't misunderstand the process. We don't advocate for one or the other. We try to make a decision based on the applicant's project as it faces us, as well as the municipal code and the rules and regulations that we're obliged to maintain and support in our appointed positions. You also need to understand, no matter what the outcome of this vote, if there even is a vote tonight relative to this proposed project, that we are not the final decision makers. The final decision makers are the city council. And the general plan revision, that portion of the project, has to be approved if, in fact, we move it forward by the city council. So, for instance, if we turn it down, somebody can appeal, and it would be, a hearing would be held by the city council. If we approve it, someone can appeal, and it would still go to the city council. So I just want you to understand the rules of the road here. I certainly haven't made up my mind, and I don't think anybody sitting on this dais has. Before we ask the applicant to come forward, many issues were raised today, Ms. Swain. Quite a few of them have been addressed previously in the staff report as well as the environmental document. Not necessarily all, however. The reference to traffic as it relates, the comparison is being raised by the public tonight. comparing this site to 20th and Avenue L. There's considerable difference in traffic circulation currently and proposed. So I'd like to hear from Matt as it relates to the proposed traffic, street improvements, street sections that are required of this applicant, notwithstanding the other project that's actually gone away.
Yeah, sure thing. Chairman Bowes, is there anything in particular you want to discuss? I mean, any particular aspect of traffic? I'm, there's a couple of different things here. 15th West itself would be developed out to an 80-foot cross-section with the improvements that are shown here on the site plan. Irregardless of if the project on the southeast corner were to move forward also, they would be required to do almost the exact same improvements.
Matt, you're going to have to speak up.
Okay. So again, irregardless of which project would be going first, if the one to the southeast corner were to actually move forward, those improvements that you see for 15th West would essentially be the same and would be conditioned for both projects.
So if this project moved forward, the full street section on both sides, including the left turn lane and the through traffic lane, the right turn lane would be required to be developed by this applicant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then as part of the review process, there was a traffic study that was conducted for this particular project. And as part of the cumulative project condition, which is the future condition with not only the project in the southeast corner, but I believe a total of 9 other projects throughout Lancaster, farther to the west and a little bit to the north, that may generate traffic that would travel through this intersection. The results of that study showed that the intersection will continue to operate at an acceptable level of service. The delay will get a little bit larger, but it still falls under acceptable conditions per the city's guidelines. The one item that did, the one item that was identified was the fact that the westbound left turn, the traffic queuing or the amount of traffic wanting to make that left turn due to the new project developments would extend beyond the length of the existing pocket. So as a condition on the project would have to install a second left turn, not only extend the existing left turn pocket for the left turn lane that's there, but add an additional left turn pocket to address that queue so that it does not extend back into the intersection for the southbound ramp off the freeway.
So do you recall what the traffic study that was developed predicted to through traffic from M to L? Or was that even considered?
That was not part, well, traffic was assigned to the intersection, but a vast majority of the traffic is not expected to use M because of the fact that it is a rural dirt road. It doesn't have a lot of connectivity other than down to Avenue M, so it was not considered to be a major access point.
What about the through traffic potential from north to south?
On Avenue 15th Street West. Yeah, that was, again, it was not considered to be as big a draw because most of the traffic that would access this particular location is freeway-oriented traffic that would come off at Avenue L, visit the site, and then continue on their trip back onto the freeway. There's not generally going to be a lot of need for somebody to come up 15th Street West. A lot of that may be local traffic from individuals who live in the area who are using that roadway to access the gas station.
What's the likelihood of increased traffic in this Avenue L corridor, which is now a major thoroughfare?
Well, with any development, there's going to be a potential increase for traffic. Again, with the comments that a lot of the speakers have made, there are several other gas stations in the area. So unless Maverick comes in and offers something above and beyond, the only thing that I could see that would be different than some of the existing gas stations is that it's slightly more convenient for freeway access. But I mean, there's no way to specifically tell what the traffic, the amount of growth in traffic there would be for this development. There is the potential, yes, because it's a new development. It does have some convenient aspects to it, but it's not a completely unique use that would draw people there for a specific reason that cannot be satisfied in, cannot be satisfied in the surrounding area.
Thank you. Comments relative to water. One of the conditions requires the applicant to have the will serve letter prior to even presenting approved plans, right?
So we actually do have a letter that was provided to the applicant from White Fence Farms Mutual Water Company on their letterhead that states that they have the ability to provide water to this specific project once the applicant has met the Mutual Water Company's standards and paid the required fees.
I see. All right, thank you. In some of the correspondence, there was an issue raised regarding dust and maybe it was, the potential of valley fever. I found it an interesting comment when consider that the traffic currently there creates dust that might have the potential of valley fever anyway.
Correct. So
busting those spores loose. If it hasn't done it in the 50-some years that the project is, that White Fence Farms have been in existence, I find it unlikely that a development like this, with the conditions imposed relative to the ability to control grading on the site and our very strict conditions as it relates to the potential of valley fever mitigations, how that could even apply here. I know that's just my opinion.
So valley fever is endemic to the Antelope Valley, along with being endemic to the San Joaquin Valley, and it gets spread through the release of spores through ground disturbance. That happens year-round up here, either from driving on dirt roads, blowing wind. I think we've all experienced it. There are specific mitigation measures in this document, and they are conditions of approval that require the developer to comply with Rule 403, which is the Antelope Valley Air Quality Management District's dust control measures. And they're pretty strict about going around and making sure that the dust is under control. In addition, we do have a valley fever mitigation measure that's been in place for about 10 years now, and that was adopted by this Planning Commission in conjunction with LA County Public Health. That specifies all of the requirements for noticing surrounding property owners and residents, along with requiring certain things to occur on site during construction to ensure that workers and surrounding residents, visitors, et cetera, are not exposed or the exposure is minimized to the extent feasible.
All right, thank you. The comments, there were a number of comments relative to increased noise. How would we address that?
So obviously, construction and operation of any development generates noise. There are construction best management practices that require the applicant under construction to do certain things to separate the distance between active construction work and surrounding property owners. Additionally, the development is required to maintain a 65 dB noise level at the property line, part of our general plan standards, in addition to one of the requirements of their alcohol sales.
So the noise issue as it relates to construction, yes, but the operating noise of any development, and frankly, any homeowner. there's a certain standard that can't be breached, otherwise you'll be cited.
Correct. So for residential uses, it's 65 dB, which is typical in most normal neighborhoods. Commercial and industrial, it's 75 dB. Since this particular site is selling alcohol, they are required to meet the residential standards.
So, to explain it in layman's terms, I understand what you're saying, but to explain it, if I have my 4th of July party in my home, and I'm setting off illegal fireworks, I'm breaching the 65 dB, right?
Correct. Well, if you're setting off illegal fireworks, you're breaching some other things too.
I'm talking about my neighbors, not me.
Okay. So this,
Which I'd like to strangle every one of them if I could get my hands on them.
the 65 dB is the normal standard, but it does allow for you to have in your home a barbecue in your backyard where, you know, the noises of people barbecuing and children playing and maybe some music is going to be noticeable to your neighbors. It's going to go above that 65 dB. When you reach a certain time of night, then you start violating a noise ordinance if, you know, you can hear your neighbor's music 3 doors down. Or like in the case of, you know, this weekend at my house, the walls of my house were vibrating because of the party going on several doors down the street. So that's where there's kind of a distinction. It doesn't prohibit normal, everyday, you know, living in your home, you know, running a business. Obviously, if you're in a commercial center and someone, you know, slams the door, it might be noticeable. But decibels are measured over a period of time. So it's 65 dB over, you know, a period of time to which you cannot exceed. And there are provisions in place that if you create noise that your neighbors can hear outside of certain periods of time, then you're violating the noise ordinance.
The light pollution issue.
Light pollution, so all light on site cannot exceed 1 candle,
Foot candle?
lumen candle, whatever, at the property line. All light standards on the property are required to be shielded and focused downward. They are not allowed to spill off-site. I mean, you're going to see a glow, just like you see a glow from headlights on the freeway.
All right, thank you. Why are we looking at the alcohol element here?
So the way the code got revised last year allows convenience markets to sell beer and wine with a minor use permit. However, it also gives the director the ability to elevate that to a conditional use permit given certain circumstances or the need felt by the department. So a minor use permit would be a staff level approval, but the neighbors would be notified. In this particular instance, since it was a general plan amendment and zone change, it was felt that a conditional use permit was the more appropriate path to go so that there was actually a public hearing. A couple of other things I want to clarify with the alcohol, because it was brought up that you can't sell alcohol within 300 feet of a residential use, and that is not an accurate statement. You can sell beer and wine. Distilled spirits cannot be sold within 300 feet of a residentially zoned or a residential use, and that's measured property line to property line, and there is no distance waiver. So that got eliminated when we updated the alcohol ordinance last year.
There's no spirits in this application, it's just beer and wine.
That is correct. It is.
And the hours are limited. It's not a 24/7 sales opportunity.
That is also accurate. This is beer and wine only, and I believe probably beer only because it's all within the refrigerated cooler. And they are limited to the hours for sale from 6 a.m. to midnight. Those hours were reviewed and approved by the Lancaster Police Department.
What about container size and numbers and like that?
So with our update of the alcohol ordinance, we removed the restriction on size, individual limitations that used to be there, but there is a condition in there that the Planning Commission has the right and the opportunity to restrict sizes and size packaging. So you could restrict the sale of, single serve. You can restrict it to, 4-packs or 6-packs or bigger. That is complete within your purview, and that is identified in the conditions.
That's not in the recommendation, however.
That is not.
Dandy. Public safety, obviously, and the perception of public safety is an issue that we all have in this community.
Correct.
The homeless issue is an issue we all address every day, one way or another. I know the city council, at least, has embarked on a very strict homeless mitigation program over time, and there are certain things they can do and certain things they can't. As a city, we don't have purview there. I mean, this commission does not oversee that aspect of it. It's a public safety issue. All right, I think you've answered all my questions. I don't know if members have any other questions before we bring up the applicant to answer a few more.
You asked all my questions.
So welcome back. So, question for you. The conditions of approval that were shared with you, do you agree with them all? And agree to comply with them all? I don't think
my microphone's working. Now it is.
Is it on?
I think it is now.
No, it's on.
Yep. Yes, we do agree with the conditions of approval that were put before us by the city of Lancaster.
All right, very good.
Just want a few clarifications, if you mind. According to our traffic study, my engineer is here with me. In the traffic study, 4 to 3 cars during a peak hour were seen to go south on 15th Street. Whether those are residences in the model or who those particular people would be, it doesn't specify, but that was actually included in our study. We did notice the alcohol restriction hours was another thing. And then one kind of point of a clarification with the convenience store, 70 to 80% of our traffic is just what we call pass-by traffic. It's not often that you have somebody that's like, oh, I have to go to Maverick today and get these 3 items. It's not like a destination store. Usually most of our traffic is generated by people who are just already on that route or on that particular direction, and then they're like, oh, I should fill it before I go home, or oh, I'm just going to grab that coffee before I go into work. Usually that's how our traffic is generated. So it's usually we're not adding to a lot of the traffic flow. It's just that 70 to 80% of ours are already on that roadway or in that motion.
80%?
70 to 80%, it varies in that range depending on the area. I'd like to think there were more of a destination stop, but those are the realities of a convenience store market.
So why'd you pick this site?
That is from our real estate team. They found that as we were coming into the California market, Lancaster is one of the cities they identified. And of course, in looking at several sites, I assume, within the Lancaster area, this is the one they put an LOI on, a letter of intent, probably about 3 years ago. And we've been in the process of working with the city of Lancaster to get to this point where we're able to come before you on Planning Commission. This is the site we feel still good about. And I look forward to seeing if we can develop this particular site.
Besides the first gentleman, you've got a lot of opposition here today.
Yes, understandable.
I mean, what are some of your comments to your neighbors?
Yes, we had a good neighborhood meeting, and first of all, I'd like to really compliment the city of Lancaster. As you can see, this was a really civil discourse. You have great residences here that are passionate about their area, and we really appreciate that because, as you can imagine, I do this in a lot of states and a lot of areas, and I always appreciate when the city is as kind as they have been, even in their disagreement. We do understand their concerns, especially about transient issues in the neighborhood. One of those things is also applies to us as employees. We'll have 10 to 15 employees that work at this store. Their security as well is of the utmost to us as the residences. If need be, we hire full-time security. If those situations are warranted, we have security cameras, of course, on the site. We maintain good lighting standards. We do within the city of Lancaster requirements, of course, shielding at the property lines. But a lot of that lighting is to not only protect our employees, but to protect the residences. As I pointed out on our elevations, the glass is how we're able to see the forecourt or that canopy so that we can maintain the safety around. We still feel like we'll be a good neighbor to the city, to the residents nearby. We found that our product is really a clean environment, one that, one of the things we're known for is how cleanliness our stores are and our restrooms. And we really support our staff to make sure that they're secure. So we feel like we'll still be a good neighbor, and I understand their concerns, but yeah, we still feel like we're a good neighbor.
Ms. Swain, this might be a question for you. How far in is the paving going? Is it going to go all the way to L4?
No. The paving will go to the southern property line here. And this all will become a public roadway.
Okay.
And that portion, and it will be city maintained.
Now, have you obviously, I understand you got a letter from White Fence Farms. Have you spoken to them about this project, and you're confident you're going to be able to meet their qualifications?
Yes. According to their will serve letter, they believe that we can service our needs. Typically, a Maverick gas station is the equivalent of 7 to 8 residential homes. Most of that, of course, is the restroom, water that is used there, and of course into our drinking fountains. But it's about 7 to 8 homes is the amount of water we use. But yes, we do believe that they'll be able to service our requirements.
And for the EV charging proposed on site, can you expand on what that looks like? Is it a vendor you're going to subcontract to, or is it a product you provide? Is it a Tesla product, or what do you?
It's typically not a Tesla product. We haven't worked out who's going to be actually maintaining and providing those power to those two, or the service to those 2 stalls. We'll work with a level 2 charger, if that makes sense to you, and providing that for those 2 stalls, and then of course plumbing it for the additional stalls that are next to it.
So you've met with the community?
Yes.
And they told you to go away?
Yes.
What have you offered them? Anything?
For right now, we're just building the best product we can and hearing, listening to their concerns, and we'll implement them as best as we can with the City of Lancaster's requirements, and hope to be that good neighbor that provides a product that doesn't take away from the value of their homes, but is something that is a community asset.
I've been on both sides of the podium relative to siting and getting gas stations approved. I'd have picked this site long ago, but I've also picked sites just like it and got my butt kicked because of our friends and neighbors.
Yep, understandable.
So no matter how we vote, either they'll appeal it or you'll appeal it.
Correct.
So we know that.
Yes.
Just so everybody understands. I know our friends and neighbors now understand exactly what your position is.
Yeah, and it's partly why we do this, right? It's the civic duty of us to present our product and project our site plan and use the board to whether approve it or deny it. And it's also the residents to get involved as they have. And we appreciate that because it's a community that we're working for, and we're all trying to get there together.
Thank you. Go ahead.
See, I think us as commissioners, you know, in this room, I have dear friends, clients, some family even, who are here opposing your project. But we've all taken an oath to follow what our city has put in place and our ordinances, to vote on this pursuant to what's been applied for and whether or not the city staff and the reports provide that it meets the city's approval. So it places us in a difficult situation often to respond not only to you, but to them as well. So I hope everyone understands that.
Yep.
Any other members care to comment? Have questions? Go ahead, Irvin.
Yeah, I do have one question, and I've been looking at it for a while. So I see proposed landscape. What does that 6 feet look like?
I would have to go back and look at the landscape plan. I don't have it particularly in my head right now at this moment. It'll, of course, be according to Lancaster City requirements, whether that will be kind of a mixture of cobble and then low-level plantings, as long as we can meet the site visibility around the corners. But it'll be able to meet the City Lancaster requirements.
So there's two separate things going on. Along Avenue L and along 15th, there's the parkway, which is city-owned. It'll have the meandering sidewalk, and the landscaping in there will meet city LMD standards, and typically that is palm trees and some other things. On site, they have a wider range of plants to choose from. They are required to be drought tolerant and native. They're required to have a shade tree for every parking space, every 4 parking spaces, plus an additional, one additional tree. So for 39 spaces, it's going to be 11 trees through the parking areas. It's going to be a mixture of trees, shrubs, and ground cover, along with decomposed granite as a stabilizer in between throughout all the landscaping areas. And they exceed the minimum standards in terms of percentage of the site to be landscaped. The specific landscaping plan will get submitted with building plans for review by staff and our landscape architects. You're welcome.
Now, Ms. Swain, I don't think we've asked this question yet, but we've obviously all gotten this 15-page letter from advocates for the environment. I think I know the answer, but I believe the city's addressed all the concerns in the letter and the reports provided already, correct?
We have, and if you would like, I can go through all of their raised comments, but there's nothing that needs to be modified in the initial study or conditions of approval and mitigation as a result of those comments.
That was the conclusion I had as well. I just wanted to make sure you agreed.
Ms. Swain, I think for the record, you should address those address that 15-page missive and share with us your position for the record.
Okay.
Since a representative is in the back taking notes, so we want to be ready.
Okay, so the first issue they raised is air quality, specifically that the mitigation measure for valley fever is ineffective and inappropriate. As we previously discussed, that mitigation measure was done and developed in conjunction with LA County Public Health. It is also very similar to mitigation measures that have been requested by other entities to reduce valley fever impacts on other projects. For biological resources, they're saying that we improperly deferred biological mitigation for failing to do a detailed Joshua Tree survey on the project site. There was a general biological survey that does identify that Joshua trees are there and identifies a mitigation measure for them to get an incidental take permit under the Western Joshua Tree Conservation Act. That act was adopted last year as a way of dealing with the Fish and Game Commission's inability to make a decision on listing or not listing the Joshua Tree. And it specifically identifies what the mitigation measures for the removal of Joshua trees are based on tree height, and it spells out the fee that they pay. They will have to get that incidental take permit CDFW did review those mitigation measures for Joshua Trees and had no edit. They also go on to state that the biological impact fee does not ensure that no impacts would occur. That is a misunderstanding by the author of this letter, as the biological impact fee is not mitigation, and it applies across the board to all development projects within the city. With respect to energy, they're saying that we haven't done everything that we possibly could to reduce the amount of energy consumption on the site. The project is going to be required to comply with Title 24 of the Building Code, which has some pretty strict standards. Additionally, energy will be provided by Lancaster Choice Energy. That is not optional. That is something that all development projects are required to be part of. The level of renewable energy that they subscribe to can vary, and that is at the developer's option, but it ranges from 35%, which is, I believe, higher than Edison's minimum amount, all the way to 100%. Under geology and soils, they state that the city did not address soil erosion. There are specific mitigation measures with respect to grading to ensure that doesn't happen. With respect to greenhouse gas emissions, they're stating that the threshold used in the technical study and in the initial study was inappropriate, and that we shouldn't have used 100,000 metric tons. That is our air district's standard for greenhouse gas emissions. It is not really relevant what the city of Sacramento or the county of San Bernardino or any other entity utilizes, as they are not in the same air basin or within the same air district. They're saying that we should have analyzed the project's consistency with all applicable plans, policies, and regulations. We did so. We analyzed it with respect to our housing element, with respect to SoCal Connect and the RTP SCS, and we also analyzed it in accordance with our general plan and our climate action plan. So I'm unaware of others that they should have analyzed. And then when I'm trying to see where we're at. They talk about more greenhouse gas emissions, and that we should have analyzed the greenhouse gas impact of transporting fuels to the project storage tank, along with the project's indirect emissions of individuals using said gasoline that they pump from this fueling station. We did analyze indirect emissions, but indirect emissions with respect to the transport from a location unknown, and with what members of the public uses the gasoline for, are speculative and not required to be analyzed by CEQA. The hazardous waste, there's illegal dumping on the site. They need to remove it and test it to make sure that it is properly disposed of, but that's not deferred mitigation. And then with respect to transportation, they're saying that we should have done a detailed VMT analysis, which is the standard under CEQA, and that we didn't adequately explain why that could be waived. The VMT analysis was waived because it meets one of the city's adopted screening criteria, being less than 50,000 square feet. They go on to state that our own Lancaster VMT mitigation program identifies significant unavoidable impacts, and that is true. We did adopt a statement of overriding considerations for that allows developments that need to utilize it to tier off of it. However, in this case, the VMT doesn't rise to that level because it screens out from further analysis. Then they go on to talk about wildfire, and that we don't discuss how the city is not in close proximity to a wildfire, very severe hazard zone very high fire hazard severity zone. We state that it's not in close proximity to one, but we didn't provide additional evidence. The state maps, which are in that letter, clearly show that the zoning question is south of Lancaster, south of Palmdale on the south side of the aqueduct. It is not in close proximity to the site. And then they go on to say that we should do a draft, an EIR, and the impacts of this project do not rise to that level to justify one.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Very thorough, thank you. All right then, Ms. Nguyen, do you have anything to add to our deliberation tonight?
Nothing to add, thank you.
All right, thank you. Our Assistant City Attorney, anything to add?
No, I don't, but please remember to close the public hearing.
When we get there, yeah? Ms. Swain, anything else?
No, Chairman Vos. No, Chairman Vos.
Matt, anything else from you?
No, I have nothing else, Chairman Vos.
We rung you out?
No.
All right then. Nothing further from members or staff. It's appropriate then to close the public hearing without objection and consider a motion. If you care to make one. Absent a motion, the project dies. A motion to approve that fails, the project dies. A motion to approve the project that is successful goes on appeal. So vote your conscience, folks.
So we can push this to a vote. I'll move that we adopt resolution number 2421, recommending approval of the City Council for General Plan Amendment number, I'm reading the right one, correct? 23002 to change the general plan designation from NU to C, and zone change number 23002 to change the zoning from RR 2.5 to CPT. Approving conditional use permit number 23018 for construction and operation of a Maverick fueling station with convenience market and the off-sale of beer and wine located on approximately 2.5 acres at the southwest corner of L and 15th Street West, APN number 3109-019-041. Adopting the initial study mitigated negative declaration, SCH number 2024-080-524, approving the mitigation monitoring and reporting program and authorizing staff to execute and file the notice of determination.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Mr. Burden, thank you, sir. All right then. Members, anything to add before I call the question? None? All right then. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote. What?
Chair, may I just interject something? You have before you 3 proposed actions within the resolution.
Right.
As you know, there's a general plan amendment, a zone change, and a conditional use permit. In the staff report, you have proposed factual findings for each one of those, as set forth in our municipal code. They are also found in the proposed resolution that is the subject of your motion. If you're comfortable making all of the findings, then it would be appropriate to vote yes, but if you're uncomfortable, it would be recommended that you specify which findings you cannot make, so that if it is appealed, at least the developer and the council will know what you were unable to make a positive finding about, as recommended by staff, if this helps structure your analysis.
So, if I understand you, I do have options rather than to consider the motion in total and consider each recommendation separately, if in fact that's what the commission wishes to do.
That's one way to put it, but really the intent of my comment is to make it clearer to the commissioners that if you cannot support the motion, in other words, cannot approve the resolution, all three prongs of it, I strongly recommend you set forth what findings you can't make. In other words, what are the facts that do not enable you to make a particular finding supportive of one of the three prongs or more than one? And press me further if it's not clear.
So, it's been our practice to vote yes or no, up or down, and not explain why or wherefore. The only way I understand that we can take an action as you're suggesting is that if I vote no, it's because I don't like condition 27 on the alcohol beverage portion or whatever. It makes it very complicated. It's been recommended and we have a motion on the floor. Unless the members wish to withdraw that motion, we must consider it the way it's been made. Unless you're advising otherwise.
No, I think you have a sufficient motion on the floor. You're enabled to vote on that as presented. If for any reason the motion fails, either a contrary motion would be appropriate.
Of course.
All right, that's really the intent of my
All right,
comment.
thank you. All right then, so we're at a point, I would suggest, if you vote no, you may choose to share why. You're not obliged to. If you vote yes, same thing. All right, so motion is on the floor to approve. Oh, is the system ready to vote? No. Now it is. Okay, please vote. All right, the motion is 3 yes and 3 no, so the motion fails. So, any of the 3 no votes care to reconsider your vote? No. Any of the 3 yes votes care to reconsider? No. So, the motion fails, the projects are denied. Now, the appeal process, Ms. Swain, would you please share with everyone what that is?
Correct. So you have 10 business days by which to file an appeal to the city clerk's office on the denial of the project. And that would be, hold on, let me count. The appeal needs to be filed by November 4th through the Office of the City Clerk, subject to the city's municipal code.
Did you mention the fee?
The fees changed on October 1st, so it's $1,825, I believe, but the city clerk's office can confirm.
Could be more.
It could be slightly more. I may be slightly off.
All right, very good, thank you. All right then, thank you very much. And thank you all for your participation tonight, and particularly staff for their thorough presentations to us. The last action item we have is item number 5, which is General Plan Amendment number 21-001, Zone Change number 21-001, tentative track map number 24-001, which is map 84317, and conditional use permit number 21-001. The recommendation before us is to continue this matter to a date uncertain. And as I mentioned before, we have nothing other than the motion to continue before us. We have no data to analyze this project.
That is correct.
Yeah, you need a motion to continue to a date
Chair Vos?
uncertain. And the likelihood of this project then, if it does come back, it would be recirculated, re-noticed publicly in all the other processes.
Chair
as
Vos,
a
I just
new
want-
application, right?
That's correct. I just wanted to say there are 4 speaker cards received for item number 5.
Oh, what?
4 speaker cards.
Oh,
4 speakers.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're not there yet, but okay, very good. All right. So, there's no applicant. The city is recommending continuance of the application. I think I've explained it as thoroughly as I can. So, we'll be happy to hear the speakers. Go ahead.
Sure. First one up is Aiden P. Marshall, representing Creed LA.
Hello, good evening and welcome. It is now evening. It used to be afternoon.
Good evening, Chairman. Good afternoon, or good evening, Honorable Chairman and Honorable Commission members. My name is Aiden Marshall, speaking on behalf of Creed LA. Creed LA, as you may have heard, is an unincorporated association of labor organizations and individuals whose members live and work in the city of Lancaster and LA County generally. Creed LA supports the applicant's request to continue today's hearing to address community concerns. Creed LA would like to take the opportunity to urge the city to use this time to correct major flaws in the project's environmental review. For example, the city has not prepared most of the required studies, the basic studies necessary to analyze this project's impacts. I'll just briefly survey these for interest. These include, there's no transportation study. The MND fails to quantify the project's vehicle miles traveled, fails to quantify the number of vehicle trips traveled by the project, and fails to provide any information on proposed roadway improvements. This project's environmental review did not have an air quality analysis. The idea was that one would be prepared in the future. This violates CEQA. There was no analysis of health risk impacts from construction equipment emissions. There was no noise study prepared for this project. No quantification of this project's greenhouse gas emissions in violation of CEQA. Further, there was no detailed analysis of public utilities impacts, which is a critical area here in violation of CEQA. And then finally, this environmental review fails to analyze the project's inconsistency with general plan policies calling for affordable units in a mixed-use development such as the proposed. Without these studies, this environmental review fails to meet basic requirements of disclosure and analysis by CEQA. Creed LA urges the Planning Commission to continue the hearing and remand the project back to staff in order for an EIR to be prepared. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
Next up is Pamela Morgan.
No hurry. Take your time.
Oh, well.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Just make a few comments. Many of the comments that were made by in the previous discussion are quite applicable to this, even more so. I wanted to comment on traffic, on roads, on water, and so on, but I really want to put an emphasis on the amount of increased traffic per day with just focusing only on the fact that there is a 799 underground parking garage, what we can call it that, and how much turnover there is for parking, how much more traffic that will entail. I think someone referred to over 1,000 just on some study about, was it gas stations? But think about 799 parking things for a hotel, apartment building, retail. How many extra cars? 2 to 3 per parking unit? Parking space, excuse me. I think that it's quite likely. I think that might even be conservative. But, so multiply that. Let's use 800 as a rough number. Times 2 or 3, that's 1,600, up. Extra cars going through a residential neighborhood. And they will not be all turning on 15th and L. They'll be coming the other direction because this will be a destination. If there are retails and hotels and apartments, it will not be a pass-by or whatever the official term is, I'm sorry. And they will be increasing traffic on these residential roads, which do not have anything near that amount of traffic now. I'm not talking just about infrastructure. I'm talking about all of it, noise, air pollution, all of it. And not only that, but at the moment, there are people who think they can get on the freeway from one of the cross streets. And we're not just talking about 15th. I want to back up for a second and say I'm not talking only about the increased traffic on 15th. People will be cutting in on those other residential streets, L4, L12, all of them trying to get in to those back ways to avoid the traffic on all the turning lanes and lights at L and 15th. So that's simply going to be, the whole area is going to be impacted by several thousand more cars per day. And at the moment, as I started to say and distracted myself, the people already think they can get to the freeway, and there will be a lot more people who think they can get to the freeway, turn around, go down the dead-end streets, the dead end of the freeway, go back around, back and forth in front of houses because they simply won't know. And believe me, there have been signage up there in the past, and people do not see them, they do not pay attention. The amount of just increased numbers of cars traveling past a purely residential, traveling through a purely residential neighborhood in one day is rather distressing to contemplate, to put it mildly. So that was my point to emphasize about this, but I do think that all of the other points about noise, air, light, just general increase in traffic and so on are also completely valid and should also be paid attention to. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next up is Philip Trujillo.
Welcome back, Mr. Trujillo. Trujillo, is it?
Trujillo, yes. Thank you for your time. I will try not to waste your time because apparently this doesn't, it's been removed, so it doesn't really matter much. So I'll try not to waste your time. Thank you for your patience. I have learned a lot attending this meeting. This is one of the first meetings I've attended. And I appreciate your explanation of the steps and the procedure and everything you're doing. I do have one question. I'm sure the gentleman whose job it is to do all this stuff, he's going to appeal it. How do I find out what my next step as a concerned citizen is? Who do I talk to? Or is that something that I even allowed to ask or discuss in this?
Is that all you want to say?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll try not to waste your
I'll
time.
ask staff to respond.
I'm learning.
We'll ask staff to respond.
I'll give you my contact information after the meeting, and we can talk later.
All right. Any more speakers?
Yes, the last one is Sally Backen. If she's still here.
I don't.
Sally Backen.
Nope, not here. So that concludes the speaker cards?
That concludes it.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, I thought we're not going to talk about it. I did not fill out card because I thought we're not going to talk about it.
I can't hear what you're saying, and if you want to speak to us, you need to fill out a speaker's card, give it to staff, and we'll call your name and you can talk to us. Didn't you already give us one for the previous action?
Yes, but I did not discuss.
Come back up. just come back up and give your name again for the record, if you don't mind, please, and then tell us what you want to tell us.
Bassem Musa. Okay, what I want to tell is this is a great project. Why we don't consider this as a development, great impact on our community? It's going to give a lot of jobs. It's going to give a lot of value to our community. It's going to help a lot of families. We need jobs. We need apartment complexes. We need restaurants. We need to give opportunity for people to work. Why everybody just worry about their chicken or worry about their animals, and we don't worry about the people? There is people here going to have improved their life, quality of life. Why everybody just so into themselves? Just a little bit of asphalt can solve a lot of problems. If we direct the traffic correctly, we're going to solve all this problem. Everybody is concerned about things. If we legalize marijuana, why we are concerned about alcohol? We've been selling alcohol since the early 1900s. Why right now we're concerning about alcohol? Why we don't concern about what these developments will bring to the community as positive? Why we only point out all the negative in the project? There is a lot of positive here. We can impact families. We can help give a lot of jobs to people in the community. We need to think in an economic way. How are we going to improve the quality of this? There is waiting lists. There is not enough apartment complexes. Why we don't do more apartments? Why we don't house more people? There is a lot of people need. We give more opportunity. We have a lot of engineers coming from Boeing's, for Lockheed Martin, for Edwards. They need rooms to stay in when they come into town. We have to see the positive more than the negative. And we see, I come from law enforcement. And in law enforcement, sometimes we sacrifice something. We sacrifice for the great of the community, not for individual. We have to look at the community at large. For me, where I come from, we sacrifice 10, 20, 30 to save thousands. This is how I see things. Yes, I'm not from here. I'm not, criticizing the way things works. But what I see, we have to sacrifice for the great good of the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
You're very welcome, sir.
And that's the last this evening. All right, members, anything to add? All right, then, the motion would be to continue to a date uncertain, to an uncertain date. I think that's appropriate. I don't know how you'd say that.
I'll move that we continue agenda item number 5 in totality to a date uncertain.
Okay. Have a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, thanks. Moved and seconded. Any further comments, questions? Please vote. The motion passes 6 yeses. That means it's continued to a date uncertain. So it would be, if it ever comes forward, re-advertised, and the public will be well aware of what is being proposed if and when. And then it'll be back before us. Thank you all tonight for coming and expressing yourselves. It's good to have public participation. Frankly, we have projects come before us, and if I was a neighbor, I'd be concerned, but a lot of neighbors don't show up. So we appreciate you showing up. Thank you very much. And certainly thank staff for their effort. You guys are the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll wait till. Wait till it clears out. We do have other business folks, so we'll continue as soon as you're done chit-chatting. All right, Mr. Nguyen.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, Chair Vos, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you for a well-ran meeting. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for November 18th. The tentative agenda is quite full. It includes a project introduction to the Parkway Village specific plan. So we're actually very excited. Been working on this for quite some time now. Excited to show you it. There won't be a decision made on that particular day, but it's for an intro to the specific plan and also an overview of the EIR for the project. Also, we have a subdivision at K and Sahuayo that includes some automotive uses. So the next point that I want to make, the aforementioned item number 5, that's the mixed-use project. In the event that that item is ready, it will be the public notices will be redistributed, so there will be ample time for people to submit any letters or attend. They'll definitely be aware of the item. And then regarding the Maverick project, so should an appeal application be received by staff in a timely manner, that item will of course be before the City Council. And before that, public notification will be distributed as well, so people will be informed of that. As always, staff is available for you if you need anything. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you very much. Anyone else care to offer comments? Nope. All right, I think we're done at 6:15. We'll adjourn to the regular meeting of the 18th of November, 3:30 p.m. in these chambers. Thank you all.